Hello. Good morning, good afternoon. This is Attorney Claudine Gasana. I'm here today. It will be brief. So I want to continue our conversation on asylum. So I'm not going to be here long. So for those who are joining, thank you for joining. For those who are going to replay, welcome. These tips will help you or will help your friend who has an asylum case in the United States. Most people who come to the US, according to my experience, they come here and they just go with a friend, and a friend help them fill out the forms. But there are other issues. There are some preliminary matters, some other issues you should take into consideration before you apply for asylum. There are one particular issue that I want to discuss that in almost all the cases that come before me, the asylum cases that were referred to the immigration judge, that particular issue always shows up. And it's most likely the reason why someone did not get asylum granted with USCIS asylum office. So we will discuss, I will talk about the particular issue that shows up in almost all the cases referred to an immigration judge, and can touch to one of the big elements in whether you obtain your asylum or not. The big element being credibility. So for those who don't know, asylum really is with the five is in your hands. In your hands. When I say asylum is in your hands, it is, we use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. But there's one other component. It's called credibility. Are you credible? Once the immigration officer has determined that you are credible, really that's the rest is to prove the five elements that I'm going to show you. However, the credibility issues or the trying to figure out whether you are credible, that's when the one particular issue comes in and can jeopardize your credibility, even if you're credible. So let's dive in. I'm going to talk about first that your asylum case is in your hand. So this is going to help you to remember whenever you're going to an interview, whenever you are going to before an immigration judge. Like I said in my previous video, your testimony is the key to winning your asylum case. Okay, so how do you win your asylum case? Is by having your case in your own hand. So how do you do that? So number one, you would know these five facts you have to show, or what you have to say. Five. Let me raise my hand a little bit. So number one, what happened to you? That's finger number one. Number two, who? Number three, why? Number four, police. Did you call the police? Did you inform the authorities, the government authorities? Number five, can you relocate? So let's maybe develop a little bit, but not too much, because I don't want to spend much time on this video, because like I said, I want to develop on that particular issue, that even if you prove all these five elements that I'm showing you, if that issue comes up in the asylum officers, I think they are trained before they even open your file to go look for that particular element or issue I'm going to talk about. So stick around, share, please, subscribe, comment, like, and so other people can come and to watch what I'm about to talk to you about. So, like I said, your asylum is in your hand. What happened to you? Because you have to show, okay, why are you filing for asylum? What happened to you? That's number one. Make sure you have a concise answer, like I was explaining in my last video. Who harmed you? Who is after you? Who persecuted you? So that's number two. Number three, why? So the why, The why is very important because we have to find a nexus. It has to be causation. It has to be because the because is that is going to determine whether a case is protected under asylum laws. You know, you were harmed because of your political opinion, your race, your nationality, your religion, your membership in a social group. That's the why. And it's very important. The nexus, we call it nexus. So you could have been harmed in your country. You could have said, okay, what happened to me where I was beaten up and I was threatened so many times. By whom? Well, there were people in the neighborhood, or there was some powerful person in my country or in my neighborhood, in my area. Why? I mean, why is very important because I owed him money, or owed some people money, and they wanted to to scare me. So that why, even if you were harmed, even if there were, I don't know, some people who were armed, and the why is because you owed money and there were some private matters you had to solve with the particular individual. The why is not going that particular why is not going to be protected by asylum laws, because the reason why you were harmed is does not fall under the protected grounds for asylum, right? So that's why is very important. So the next one, number four, is hi. Oh, bonjour, Daniel. Bonjour. Merci beaucoup. Vous suivez toujours mes lives. Uh, I'm talking about asylum. Speaking English because people here who apply for asylum, I mean, most of them speak English, and I assume you speak English as well. So number four is the how did you alert the police? Did you seek protection? And the reason why this is very important is because you could be harmed, something could have happened to you, and you could identify people who did that to you, and the reason that happened, and it could be a reason protected under the asylum laws. But if you were able to get protection from your country, the police, the government, and if you somebody threatened you, and you called the police was able to protect you, or if you were able to obtain judgment against those people, and they are able. So the government, you have to show the government is not able or willing to protect you, or the government is the prosecutor. So that's why to explain whether you sought protection of your country or why not you were not willing to do so. It You have to show it, to show, okay, there was no protection from your country, your government, your police, and then so number five, is there any way you can relocate? So this actually is very important for people who come from countries that are large countries, like if you come from Nigeria, you come from Cameroon, you come from Sudan, you come from Democratic of Congo, you come from uh, any other big country, Senegal, Ghana. So if you have to show, okay, can you, if you are harmed in one region, is there any way you could relocate to another region in your country where you may not be harmed? And that also is very important to do so. However, there's an exception to that um, requirement, and the exception is if the government is the prosecutor, then there's a way to argue that even if I relocate to one part of the country and to another part of the country, I'm being prosecuted, I'm being pursued by the police, the I don't know, the intelligence community. I'm being pursued by this political party on power, and they have all the resources. They can find me anywhere. Then you can be able to overcome the relocation. You know, I guess the element of proving your own case. So those are the five. Literally, your case is in your hand. What happened to you? If anything, in your asylum, you are preparing for your asylum interview, and you just cannot, you are nervous. You say, okay, am I, you don't want to sound rehearsed. Am I going to be able to say anything? What am I supposed to say? Always keep in mind five. Hold your hand. You have five fingers. What happened to me? By whom? Why did I was I able to seek protection from the police, from the government? Can I relocate? So those questions, if you're able to kind of master how you answer those questions, your asylum case will be in your hands. You'll be fine. However, let's get to that issue I wanted to talk about. Most cases, and this particularly for people who have recently or previously traveled through either in the U.S. or they have been traveling. Right, you travel in different countries. You travel, or you have a family members that you mentioned in your asylum case that also traveled or have sought visas to come to the US. Okay, so let me give you an example. So when you apply for a visa, or when you come here, I mean, most people come with a visa, right? You fill out a form at the consulate. The form, you fill it out, you say, and then they show you your visa stamp, where you can, when you apply for the visa. You'll be surprised that sometimes some people, they would say that, okay, which date, because they ask you, were you prosecuted, when were you beaten, when were you in a hospital because of that, or when were you in jail, um where, and then you give a date, and that date happens to be the date you had an interview with with the US consulate. So you see, that does not make sense. So already your credibility is an issue. That may be a mistake. You may have forgotten, you might have mixed up the dates. It's, you're nervous in front of an officer. You can get your dates straight. But the asylum officers, and I think this is a training, that's how they are trained. Before they even pick up your case, they are going back to see, what is your history, what is your immigration history, where have you traveled. So they ask you, provide copies of your passports. If you ever traveled in the US before, they're going to have visa stamps, they're going to have your visa application. In your visa application, use in your visa application to apply for a visitor's visa, for example, or a business visa, they ask you, where have you traveled in the last 5 years. So they already have that information. So keep in mind, whenever you're going to apply for asylum, that all that information is going to be available for an officer. And if the information contradicts from what you put in your asylum, the dates don't match, or you say you were in your country, where when in your visa application you said you were in another country, you give a date, and in your visa stamp, literally, and this has happened like multiple times. So you say, okay, let's say in January 2019, I was harmed, I was there. You give a description in your asylum application. However, in your passport, there's a stamp, visa stamp, showing you were exited. They say, I'm from Rwanda. I'm from Rwanda. So, and then I traveled to Burundi, or to Kenya, or, in January 2019, and that there's a stamp. Every time you go to a country, they stamp you. There's something showing you exited or you entered. So if you show you were entered, you were in Burundi, where you say you were actually being harmed somewhere else in your home country, then there's contradiction in that. Right there, you are going to be asked so many questions. The officer is going to be very hostile, and they will deem you not credible, because they will say, okay, how can you explain that you were, how do you allege, you claim that you were being detained in your home country on this particular date. However, in your passport, it shows you had traveled outside your country, you were somewhere else in another country. Or on your visa application to come to the US, you were you say that you were in those in other countries within that time. So that becomes a problem. And this has been really a pattern. It really happens in so many cases that I see that people come to seek an attorney when they are going to in front of the judge. So usually when somebody comes to me before we file an asylum case, we go over all those questions because yes, that's not the end of the world. I mean, but you're gonna have to explain yourself. Okay, was it a mistake? Did you mistakenly mention the date where there is a stamp in your passport showing you are somewhere else? Or did you forget you traveled to another country? Did you, what you mentioned in your visa application? Why is it different from your asylum application? So in your asylum application, also you have to mention your parents, your siblings, and where they are. And then sometimes this has happened where an officer say, well, you said your mother was somewhere else, but she did apply for a US visa, and here's the information she provided. This happened. So basically, you not only have to know your information, but you have to know the whereabouts of your parents, of your siblings, of your spouse, of your children. So I mean, so it's not like you have to know all that information. You could say, I don't know. That's why I said last time in my last video that it's very important when you don't know something to say, I don't know, I don't remember, I was not aware, instead of just saying, oh, okay, there, they are here. They ask you, okay, so you said your father was not in your country, right? So that's already, a leading question. Say, oh, well, I don't remember. That's what I would say. I said, or you can say, yeah, I think he was, but to tell you the truth, I was trying to run for my life. I didn't inform anybody. That way, when the officer says, oh, okay, because we have your father's application for a visa, and he at that time he actually was here, or like basically they have all the information. And if your loved ones, if yourself has ever applied for any type of visa to come to the US, that information is on record. And the information on your passport, on your siblings passport, your father, your mother, your children, your spouse, all that information is at the USCIS the disposition. The DHS, if your family members have ever had any dealing with the immigration services, so it's on record. So that, and they are looking at that information and comparing to your case, to your declaration, to your facts, to your claim, and they are questioning you about it. And that is because the number one, other than the five elements or all the elements of asylum, is credibility, right? So I was saying in the last video, it doesn't matter how many documents you provide, it doesn't matter how much evidence you provide, if you are deemed not credible, and if you cannot express and testify and verbalize your claim, you may not get your asylum, or it may take time. You may have to go through so many hoops to get it. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. So I thank you for watching. Please go ahead and subscribe and share and comment, like, and if there are any other subjects you want to discuss, feel free to put that in the comments. And if these videos really help you, let me know. If so I'm open to any feedback. And so, like I said, your asylum case is in your hands. And you use your five fingers to what, who, why, the police, did you seek protection, and why couldn't you relocate? And you have to very know the background, or the history of your travels, the history of your immigration and your family members immigration in the US, because those facts will be um, those facts will be brought up in your interview to even during the judge's hearing to poke on your case to determine whether or not you are credible and what you're saying it is true. All right, so have a great remaining of the week. Tomorrow is Friday, and I hope you have a good end of the week and very productive. Thank you for those who are watching live. Okay, you have a great day. Bye.